Hey yo, with Baldur's Gate 3 officially open for exploration, there are going to be tons of you stretching your legs across the Sword Coast in search of glory, riches, or happy endings. However, before you start diving into the chaos of this epic adventure, I wanted to put together a collection of all of the top tips that will help you put your best foot forward when exploring the world. As always, I'll give you as much value as I can as quickly as possible, and you just make sure to hit that like and subscribe as soon as I hit you with a tip that you haven't heard. So with that out of the way, these are the tips that you need to get the most out of exploring Baldur's Gate 3. Let's get into it. To start off, my first tip is a consideration to take into account when building your character. While there are tons of options that can give you an edge in a variety of circumstances, perception is the one skill that you'll tend to lean on the most when exploring the world. Perception will determine whether or not you see those secret entrances, discover hidden traps, or notice buried treasure that will give you a nice early boost when first exploring the world. To some extent, there's value in spreading your skills around, but make sure you have at least a couple people with high perception at the ready when you're venturing out for the first time. Speaking of discovering hidden treasures, if you discover that patch of disturbed dirt and don't have a way to bring up the hidden chest below, then your keen eyes aren't actually doing all that much good. Make sure that one or two members of the party are always carrying a shovel to make sure you can secure any buried treasure you come across. While perception is wildly important compared to a lot of other skills, it's also a good idea to make sure you're selecting the right party member when engaging the environment. If you want to talk to an animal, your druid or ranger probably have the best skills to succeed on any challenges that may arise. If you're going to examine a strange magical contraption, make sure someone with arcana or a high intelligence score is the one taking the first look. There's no surefire way to guarantee success in any of these interactions, of course, but giving yourself the best possible odds will definitely provide a significant benefit overall. While it's not the most exciting consideration, mastering inventory management early in game is going to make your entire experience much more enjoyable for the full length of what is expected to be a long game. After you've amassed a lot of stuff in your inventory, sorting through it all can end up being a little bit of a hassle during combat or when interacting with vendors. If there's anything you want to keep but don't really have an immediate use for, you can actually tuck it out of sight while still hanging on to it. All you have to do is keep a pouch, box, or backpack in your inventory, and you can store those items in a separate container for ready access. Just click on the container in your inventory, right click and select open, and then drag any of those keepsakes into the freshly opened container menu. There, out of the way, out of sight, but ready if needed. While Gale might not ever be the strongest member of the party and your barbarian won't be the learned scholar of the group, you can remove some of these inherent weaknesses by carefully applying the items you equip them with. Giving your noodle-armed wizard a club that boosts their strength means they're more likely to resist being thrown off a ledge, gives them more carry capacity, and they have a little bit of extra utility overall. Similarly, boosting your barbarian's intelligence means that your barbarian is more likely to discover alternate pathways while they're out in front, or spot those hidden dangers instead of just being the party's meat sponge. Even if you got a good handle on what you're keeping and what you're selling off, all that inventory is going to weigh a lot. If you're running around and it's not convenient or easy to run back to a merchant and sell everything off, make sure that you're distributing the load across your party to make use of all of your available carry weight. Your strength score determines how much your carry capacity is going to be, so make sure to load up your barbarian with junk first to guarantee around 300 pounds of extra trade fodder when you get back to town. And the last quick tip to keep your carry weight lean and your inventory clean is to make sure that you're sending all of your supplies to camp. With rare exception, you can't actually eat any of the food that you're carrying in your inventory, so there's no value in having it weigh you down while you're out and about. After sending your resources to camp, you'll be able to find them again at the chest that appears nearby when you go to take a long rest, and you can count out whatever resources you need to finish your rest quick and easy without the pain that comes with lugging around 400 pounds of cheese. Now that you've got a handle on inventory and your party is set up for its best chance at success, let's cover a few quick mechanical things to save you some time and pain. First, keep in mind that you can always throw it on a quick save at any time by pressing F5. Rather than opening the menu every time and selecting an overwrite save file, this will give you a reactive opportunity to get a quick save in without having to go through the menu every single time. Saving early and often is definitely going to be a good habit to get into, so make sure you're using this one. In addition to the one-touch save button, you can also gain a huge edge on exploring the environment by using the Alt button. Holding down the Alt button will automatically pop up all items in your surroundings that can be picked up, interacted with, or had at one point been a living creature. Given that many of this game's locales are dark or dimly lit, and the sheer minuscule size of some of these items you need to pick up, this is an awesome way to make sure you're not missing anything, especially if it's meant to be something secret. With the ability to reveal everything of note in your surroundings, make sure that you're grabbing up all of the books, letters, and messages you come across as as well. Not only can these provide you with important information, interesting lore, or secret knowledge that will give you an edge, there is also the potential to have one of your party members provide you inspiration based on the discovery. Inspiration dice are hugely valuable and give you the ability to reroll any skill check that you fail for a second chance at success. While you can amass quite a few of them, just be aware that these inspiration dice are part of a pool that your whole party uses, and anytime you use one, that is one less for your whole party. So choose your moments carefully and save them for rolls that feel big and important. The last button shortcut that you'll for sure want to know about is that you can bring up the full party inventory by pressing the tab button. With everyone in your party in view, this is the easiest way to quickly trade items between characters, manage worn items, or divide up important resources before heading out again. This one may be a small convenience, but it's also one I saw quite a few people overlooking in early access. So now that you're on to adventuring in the open world, let's dive into the real power of magic that some of you may not know. Cantrips are spells that you can cast at will that never run out and you always have at the ready. While it's easy to think that stocking up on damage is a good way to go, you're probably overlooking some hugely powerful benefits that you should be considering. Guidance is maybe the most powerful cantrip in the game, as it provides you a 1d4 bonus on literally any skill check that you make. Not to mention, you can actually cast it reactionarily after a conversation or attempt has started, which means that you don't have to be 100% tactical or prepared to benefit from it. A max roll on guidance immediately gives you a 20% bump of your odds of success on any standard roll, so make sure that at least one person in the party has it at all times. Another powerful cantrip that is often overlooked is the Mage Hand cantrip. I covered some of the cool mechanical benefits that the Mage Hand can provide in the combat tips video here, but it also has a lot of benefits to exploring the open world as well. If you want to disarm a trap surrounded by poison, just send in your Mage Hand to do it and avoid taking damage. If you want to grab a small item behind an obstruction, just have your Mage Hand slither through and grab it for you. While it might not provide you with the sensation of power that a firebolt does, there are huge advantages to having an invisible, flying, extra hand out in the open world on your side. These cantrips can add flexibility to your approach, but some spells can actually provide you with a big advantage in discovering secrets as well. By using mobility spells, you're often able to access secret areas, hidden treasures, and massive shortcuts just by adding another dimension of travel to your repertoire. The Fly, Jump, and Misty Step spells are excellent for quickly navigating up to secret ledges or hidden recesses. Similarly, the Featherfall spell can make a deadly plunge into a soft landing that ultimately gives you access to new hidden areas that you otherwise couldn't traverse. Whether it's through magic or by drinking a potion meant to mirror magical effects, make sure to take full advantage on any spells that last indefinitely between long rests. Speak with Animals will provide you with the ability to interact with all animals until you take your next rest and require no concentration to maintain. Even spells that require concentration like Shield of Faith and Detect Thoughts can immediately provide a massive benefit to defense or interactions that remain in play as long as you're able to hold concentration on them. While some spells that require concentration will provide you with a buff or some overall benefit, some of them can damage allies, destroy important materials, or cause accidental problems that it's better to avoid. If you've finished mopping up a group of baddies and you're ready to go back to exploring, always remember that you can freely drop any spell you're concentrating on by hitting the small X on the spell icon found on the concentrating party member on the left side of the screen. Regarding Speak with Animals specifically, as the name implies, this spell will let you talk to animals as if they were normal NPCs while it's active. While it's often fun and interesting to have these unique interactions, they are also some of the most informative, important, and beneficial in the game. Powerful enemies are likely to keep their hidden secrets and sensitive information in a tight circle that not many of their minions might know. But you know who does know where those things are? The rat that they never pay attention to when opening up that secret bookshelf, or the bird that has a nest nearby overlooking their secret plans. Because of their proximity and access to all things, conversing with animals regularly is a good way to quickly find out secret information. Not only can speaking with animals provide you some excellent benefits for your exploration and discovery, but it can also give you some additional company on your journey as well. Adding a dog or owlbear cub probably won't change the overall approach to exploring the wide world at large, but they sure make for some cute fluff while you're back at camp. If simply conversing with animals doesn't yield the information you're after, you can always become one yourself to try and figure out the hidden secrets that would otherwise remain inaccessible. By using a druid's wild shape or controlling a summoned familiar, you can often access areas of the map, investigate secretive groups, or collect powerful items while in your more beastly form. Each wild shape form and summoned familiar have their own unique navigational benefits, but make sure to play around with these different possibilities to maximize your ability to discover what's really going on. Fortunately, there are lots of ways for your humanoid form to discover hidden secrets as well. well. The first thing to keep in mind is that you have the ability to freely move objects around the environment to have a huge impact on how you can navigate forward. In addition, you can throw various objects around to cover traps, hurl heavy hits at enemies, and create your own blockades if needed. But to uncover some of those secrets, you can take a more constructive approach and create a climbable stack of boxes to access up high areas as well. No matter where you end up navigating the party, don't forget to make sure that your most vulnerable party members are plenty protected while you do. Lasting indefinitely between long rests, Mage armor or Armor of Agathis will provide that much needed protection for your casters during a full day of exploring. Not only should you get the most out of them by casting them early, but that will help you avoid having to waste your first action in combat just to put on your armor. Make a habit of casting these spells where applicable as soon as you finish a long rest to avoid getting caught off guard and starting a fight on the back foot. If you do happen to get into a scrap and get a few nicks and dings from the exchange, don't hesitate to burn your short rests. While long rests are the only ways for casters to replenish most of their spell abilities, most melee classes will still maintain a high degree of effectiveness even if they burn some of their limited activation abilities. So, unless you have a need to power up your spellcasters again, never hesitate to burn a short rest for a quick burst of heals and then get right back to it. If you're on the fence about whether or not to take a short or long rest, there's usually nothing lost in erring on the side of caution and taking a long rest if you're concerned about what may lie ahead or you don't want to be without certain spell slots or abilities. Other than the very early game, camp supplies are available in extreme abundance and you should have no issues burning through tons of camp materials if you prefer a slower and more methodical pace. Don't hesitate to extend that break into a long one if you're really feeling it. Once you're fully rested up and looking to get back into trouble, it is extremely important to make sure that you're also taking some time to investigate the surroundings of any fights you might want to get into. The notoriously fun, though sometimes difficult encounter at the Goblin encampment in the early game is a good example of this. While you can just go in swinging and take on a massive horde of low-level enemies, you can theoretically take this fight on at a lower level by thinning out their numbers first. If you sneak into the shadows and drop just a little bit of poison into one of their boost tubs, you can immediately get rid of nearly half of the goblins before the fight even starts, and the remaining few will have their hit points drastically reduced. This makes a potentially deadly fight into a much more manageable affair, and there are opportunities like this to have an impact on the fight before it even starts scattered all over the game. If you happen to get caught poisoning the boost tub or just caught sneaking into anywhere you're not supposed to be, things can turn violent very, very quickly. However, if you want to slow the pace down and give yourself the best possible odds at success before combat begins, you can actually enter a turn-based mode outside of combat as well. This means you don't have to react to the quick shifting of an enemy's view or the potentially challenging timing of environment patterns in real time, and can instead navigate the challenge in front of you with methodical precision. If you succeed at accomplishing what you're after and manage to avoid combat while doing so, you can easily leave turn-based mode by hitting the X next to the signifier at the top of the screen. While these tactics and tricks in exploring the world will often provide you with significant material benefits, it is the social interactions that hold a ton of additional weight, content, and benefits if thoroughly explored. Connecting with your traveling companions will see you romancing your chosen paramour or multiple paramours, and can drastically change how certain interactions resolve, what benefits your companions provide you, and where the story ultimately goes. So when you're back at camp and you see that exclamation point over an ally's head, make sure to follow up to get the full breadth of the story. To make these exchanges easier or harder, depending on the choices that you happen to make, you will often see members within your party either approve or disapprove of your actions depending on their core beliefs and individual motives. If you have your sights set on one companion or another and are desperately seeking their approval, well, make sure you're also paying attention to the exchanges that you have with them so you have a good idea of what values they hold and how a given choice may impact their perception of you. If you want to get a quick gauge for how your relationship might be developing, you can always see how favorable an NPC might find you by checking out the attitude slider visible through their character sheet or underneath the examine tab. And the last tip I want to provide for any beginners out there that may feel like a typical trash sentiment but is actually super important is to absolutely take your time and do only the things that you want to do. This game is expected to be around 100 or more hours of content for most people, and I think it's fair to say that many people won't even finish a full playthrough, let alone see multiple endings or different branching paths. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but with the very real likelihood that you'll probably never see everything there is to see in this game, make sure that you're focusing your time, energy, and attention on the companions, quests, and mechanics that you're enjoying the most. Even if it's not efficient, even if it's not the most powerful, even if it's not the quickest path to here, there, or wherever, with a game this long, focusing on your fun is literally one of the best and most important things to keep in mind before strapping in and setting up. So chase down what excites you, skip or ignore what doesn't, and get as much enjoyment from the experience as possible. And with that, I think you have everything you need to get the most out of exploring the open world in Baldur's Gate 3. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for future content. Leave a comment with any areas or subjects you'd like to see explored in future videos. And until I see you next time, party on.